Hello there, and thanks for choosing RTV News. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kigali, Rwanda. I am Isabel Masozera. Now, China's zero-COVID policy continues to make headlines. But if you are wondering what the impact could be on developing countries, well, today we do have a chief economist from the National Bank of Rwanda here to explain that and so much more. But first, the headlines. Taxi motorcyclists are expressing concerns about unresolved issues, especially the persisting high cost of insurance. And a sugar depot of South African investors was inaugurated in Kigali on Wednesday, with 5,000 tons set to be distributed in Rwanda. This is RTV News. Now, top of our edition, taxi motorcyclists were assured that their problems would be resolved within 2 months, but they have not, and now they're expressing concerns about that, but most especially the high cost of insurance that has persisted. We start with Precious Kirezi.
During his visit to Ruhango district on August 25th, President Paul Kagame was spoken to by a taxi motorcyclist by the name Pierre Bizimana, who shared with him the challenges faced by those in his profession.
Vehicular insurance costs are high, and paying for dependent, permits, and income tax doesn't make us eligible for loans or leave enough for tuition fees for the children, and would appreciate this challenge being followed up on.
President Paul Kagame empathized with their concerns and called upon the relevant authorities to take action, which the Minister of Infrastructure responded to by saying it would be handled within the next 2 months.
There is truth to these concerns, and proposals have already been made to relevant authorities, and the Ministries of Infrastructure, as well as Finance and Economic Planning, are partnering with the National Bank to resolve these issues, and 2 have been resolved so far. Your Excellency,
Two months later, motorcyclists still have persisting problems and unanswered questions.
Insurance is still expensive, and the 10,000 that was deducted from 150,000 hasn't made much of a difference.
The 2 months set by the Ministry of Infrastructure ended on October 25th, and the government deputy spokesperson has given us an insight into what the execution process is like, pointing out that the various entities involved are working on it and the public will be notified when a resolution is reached.
Ni ikibazo gikomeye, ntago cyabaye amasigara cyicaro rwose nkuko bivuze. It
is a very sensitive issue being tackled by the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, the National Bank and the National Police, as well as motorcyclists and insurance companies. This isn't an issue that is going to be resolved with one meeting, and we are actively trying to get everyone on the same page to reach a final resolution. I would also like to discourage the notion that the minister deceived the president, because there are relevant reasons as to why the 2 months time frame was never met.
No commitment has been made this time around as to when the issues will be resolved. Precious Chidezi, RTV News.
Thank you, Precious. Now, China was the only major economy to grow in 2020. But if you're wondering why the world's second largest economy defied the odds, prevention might have had a lot to do with it. China has gone to great length to stop the COVID spread in its country. Now, experts warn, however, that the impact of the country's zero COVID policy on its economy is just a tip on the iceberg and might inevitably inevitably trickle down to developing economies. Now, for more, we turn to Dr. Thierry Kalisa, the Chief Economist and Executive Director, Monetary Policy and Research Directorate at the National Bank of Rwanda. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Now, Thierry, I have so many questions, but maybe if we could start with you unpacking for us how this all might play out, because China is really a global driver of growth. And for that to be going on right now and the impact that is having on its economy, how will that inevitably trickle down, and what might be the magnitude of that impact on developing countries just like Rwanda?
Thank you very much. That's a good question. Actually, you said it well in your introduction that Chinese authorities took very seriously the issue of COVID-19 from the beginning. Now, what has happened more recently is that as all of our economies, all of our countries starting opening up in 2021, China maintained this strict, or let's say zero tolerance to COVID policy, including this year. So at the beginning of this year, with a number of cases increasing, they have actually put in full lockdown or partial lockdown several cities in the country, more than 20 cities, including two big cities that are very important for global trade. Here I'm talking about Shanghai and Shenzhen. So these 23 cities that were in lockdown represents 22% of their GDP, to show you the magnitude of it. But what's most important is, let's look at Shanghai. Shanghai's port is one of the busiest, if not the busiest port in the world. So a lot of global trade is happening there. And Shanghai and Shenzhen are also two cities manufacturing things like electronics, semiconductors, and also cars. So what has happened is that if people who are involved in the transport sector are being quarantined because of COVID, if at the same time the port is blocked or partially blocked also because of COVID restrictions, then global trade is being affected. To give you an idea, Rwanda, for example, imports 21% of its merchandise from China. So that's how as developing countries, Africa and Rwanda, we are being affected by this through high costs of shipping and at the same time delays in shipping. So all this is fueling into our inflation that is part of the reason why inflation is high. Price increase this year are higher than what we should have. But part of the response for that is, I don't know if you've seen yesterday, the central bank decided to tighten monetary policy by increasing the central bank rate. With that, we hope that by next year, inflation will go down to the target of below 8%.
Yes, and indeed we hope that the wheels can turn. Now, most economies have actually, economists have described China's zero policy strategy as something that is not sustainable. But in your opinion, why do you think China, despite of even some of the local experts saying this, is not backing down? Might there be something that all of us, the whole world, might be missing?
They might have their own reasons, and not to give or criticize that. But if you look at the data, China's economy for the second quarter of this year, growth was only 0.4%. I think that's part of the reason why they are starting to adjust. More recently, we've seen that there have been some movement towards relaxation of some of these COVID policies that were the signal on the market, stock markets, was good a few days ago after Chinese authorities announced these relaxation in measures. So I think this will not continue. They've done actually I think they've tried to do their best to preserve their population, which is a valid point, and they continue to do it. But I think they are going to adjust slightly in a way that is affecting less their economy.
Okay, speaking of adjustments, of course, so many now reports coming out saying there might be a possible revision to the policy. Can you help us better understand what that might mean for economic dynamics worldwide?
Yes, the same way that China is a big actor of the global economy. So if Chinese economy is slowing down, it is affecting global economy. Right now, if they relax, and that's what is happening, the trade restrictions, or let's say delays, because we have to put that in the context where we have a war in Ukraine that is also blocking the Black Sea, partially at least. So if the ports in China are operational, then these delays that I was talking about and the logistic costs might go down, and this will help ease inflation everywhere in the world. So we hope that this movement and global economic recovery happening in China is beneficial for actually everyone.
Well, thank you so much, Thierry, for making the time to speak to us.
Thank you very much.
Right, and that is Dr. Thierry Kalisa, the Chief Economist and Executive Director, Monetary Policy and Research Directorate at the National Bank of Rwanda. Now, moving on, a sugar depot owned by South African investors was inaugurated in Kigali on Wednesday with 5,000 tons set to be distributed on the Rwandan market. Now, citizens say that the increase of the sugar quantity on the market will help reduce the cost.
Around the city, a kilogram of sugar costs between 1,400 and 1,600 Rwandan francs, depending on the region. Citizens say that previously the price was higher, between 1,800 and 2,200 francs, hence not affordable. The price of sugar was now reduced as we wanted, because if the cost was 1,500 and the reduced amount is 100, and there are other products we would like to buy. At the DP World Kigali Logistics Platform in Masaka, there was the inauguration of the sugar depot of the Ilovo Group, starting off with 5,000 tons. Jack Faulkner, the Ilovo Group Market Development Manager, states that the quality determines the type of sugar to use on their markets.
Ilovo's very strict regulations on the quality. So when you produce sugar, you have documents that are certified. So if you're producing sugar from various mills, it needs to come with a certificate of analysis and the likes. And then on top of that, we're also adding vitamin A to our product. So at the moment, it's the only sugar you'll find in Rwanda that has vitamin A contained in the product.
The Minister of Trade and Industry, Professor Jean Chrysostome Gabintsinze, iterates that the demand of sugar on the Rwandan market is high, but this partnership will provide other benefits.
The need of sugar now is not only consuming it on tea, coffee, or juice, but even processed products. And day after day, industrialization in Rwanda is taking shape. So meaning that the demand is there, so the business is secured. Ilovo packaging facility is very important in terms of quality, affordability, and the addition of A vitamin is very important to fight malnutrition. So thank you even to support on that way, because we know malnutrition is a problem. So if we can find a way to fight it, we are creating future hope for our community.
Only between 10% and 15% of the sugar consumed in Rwanda is locally produced. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Prince. Now, some of the residents of Kigali City are requesting that more effort be put in teaching Kiswahili because the language is beneficial in regards to conducting business and more in the East African community. Olivun Tete reports.
A few years ago, Kiswahili was included in the list of official languages in Rwanda. This is in addition to the fact that this language is widely used in the East African region where Rwanda is located. Some residents say that there is need to promote the teaching of this language.
We would like to know the language as well, so that we can be able to communicate with our clients. As you see, I can't understand Kiswahili and other languages. It is a great loss because when they want a certain service, it is really hard to communicate. We request the government to establish more centers for that language and also to reinforce the teaching of the language in schools so that upcoming generations can also get to know the language.
Some headmasters of primary schools point out that it would be better to teach Swahili from a young age because it provides a wide range of opportunities.
Teaching Swahili begins in all level and above. But given that the education sector is growing and that many countries in the region speak the Kiswahili language, it is a good idea to begin teaching the language in elementary school. This will help children learn the language and prepare them for higher levels of study, similar to how we begin teaching Kinyarwanda to students in their first year of primary school. As we learn French and other languages in P4, I believe that they should also begin studying Swahili. This would help a student in a number of ways.
Jean-Léonard Dukuzumuremyi from the Ministry of Youth and Culture points out that although efforts are still being made to improve the use of Kiswahili language in Rwanda, it is important to note that now at least Rwandans have started to understand the importance of learning Kiswahili.
There is a national culture policy which is being developed, and under the policy, some strategies will be made to make sure that we are fully integrated in East Africa, and of course we are also using Kiswahili. So we have tried to see that is important of using this language because of this integration. So Rwandans have the benefits just to use this language in addition to our national language, Kinyarwanda.
From November 16th to 18th, members of the Kiswahili Language Development Commission will be having discussions in Kigali about measures that can be put in place to promote the Kiswahili language. James Joy, the head of the Kiswahili Commission, points out some of the important topics that should be reiterated on.
It would be very important to undertake capacity building through schools, through different training programs, and also undertake awareness creation through various stakeholders and media houses like yourself, so that there is more awareness about the importance of Kiswahili and also its role as an official language of the EAC.
Apart from schools, there are institutions and individuals who have established methods of teaching Kiswahili, but people in this sector say that more should be done to enforce the teaching of the language. Olive Nete, RTV News.
Thank you, Olive. In more news, over the last 13 years, more than 2,000 people in Rwanda have undergone operation to repair their cleft lip and palate. Former cleft patients who were assisted by the Operation Smile medical volunteers say that they no longer are ostracized. Prince Manzi with the details.
Enoch Birimoyesu from Burera district was born with the cleft disease and was cured for free. He is happy for he is perfectly well. I used to eat and some of the food would drop down because of the problem. But ever since I came from the hospital, I'm totally fine. And some of my friends are amazed of how I can be perfectly fine and able to talk to them. Unfortunately, some still have the mindset that this disease is due to curse. This is one of the reasons the Operation Smile organization, established by medical volunteers, helps in curing the cleft lip and palate patients. It has also trained health counselors for them to impact in changing such mentality. We used to hear people saying that if a baby is born with a cleft lip and palate, it is a curse or God's punishment. In the celebration of 40 years since the establishment of the Operation Smile organization and its 13 years in Rwanda, cooperatives of health counselors in Musanze were given bicycles and equipments that will facilitate them in following up cleft patients. Andrew Karema, the country coordinator of the Operation Smile organization, states that there are other activities that go hand in hand with the treatment they provide. Including renewing the operation rooms, including also providing instruments for the doctors to have a special room to operate in, as well as modern equipment for having a fully organized treatment. Pregnant women are advised to not take tobacco and alcohol, as they can result into giving birth to babies with cleft lip and palate, as explained by the Health Facilities Development Specialist at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Cyprien Dukunda. Or also taking medicine with no quality or not on standard. All these were found to be somewhat the basis for a parent to give birth to a child with cleft lip and palate. At least 5,000 people were treated through the Operation Smile organization including 2,000 who were healed completely. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Prince. On Wednesday, the National Child Development Agency, in collaboration with the United Nations Children's Fund, released a manual about early childhood development that will assist ECD centers with their activities, as well as other centers that plan to start offering related activities.
In Rwanda, the number of early childhood development centers is growing every day. In addition to ensuring that kids are secure, these facilities are cited as being critical to enhancing kids' nutrition and giving them access to a quality education. One of the parents who attended the launch of the manual that will be used for these activities stated that the manual is very significant. We as parents, when we give birth or even with young children, we often face a problem of stunting. This toolkit will help us a lot in preventing stunting in our children. Having ECD centers at our workplace is beneficial because we will be having a safe space where to leave our children instead of leaving them at home. These centers assist us on breastfeeding program so that the children are fed and cared for by trusted people. Fiona Uwera Mugabe, partnership specialist at the UNICEF, points out that this manual was a result of the research done about children's development.
It came as a recommendation of another study that we had done, which was a business case for employer-supported childcare in the tea sector. The challenge that we're trying to address is that we found that many businesses were not investing in childcare because they lacked some practical guidance on how to start, on how to plan and implement ECD services. So this toolkit addresses some of these challenges.
Gilbert Munyemana, the Deputy Director General of the National Child Development Agency, reiterates on what the manual entails.
We have realized that mothers, after they have finished their maternity leave, or for those who are working in these other informal sectors, they do really suffer on providing different services, the ECD services, as our policy summarizes them, which are related to nutrition, to health, to early learning, to positive parenting, but also to hygiene and so on. So when they leave the kids at home, it's really not easy for them to also give the productivity at the workplace. So when we have the ECD at workplace, it really helps for kids to get all those services, but also the mothers to work better, actually to have more productivity, as it have been shown in different areas like in the tea plantations. So this ECD toolkit will help those institutions where to start, what to prepare, what the personnel that you should be having, and even which model would you follow to make sure that it is sustainable. So it is a toolkit that will help children, mothers and parents in general.
This early childhood development program is designed to provide a child with access to health services, early learning, brain stimulation, healthy nutrition, and parental care from birth to 6 years of age. Olive Nete, RwandaTV News.
Always a pleasure bringing you the latest here in Rwanda and beyond. I am Isabel Masozera, and on behalf of the entire team here at RBA, thanks for watching and stay with RTV.